20. Tathaiv tishthati. As every fruit has its own taste, similarly, every verse composed by each Sanskrit poet has its own beauty. Yet because of our individual interest, we like some fruit more. This act does not harm the importance of any other fruit. Similarly, getting pleasure from the present lesson by selecting particular verses of great poets does reduce the importance of their other verses. Keeping this background in mind, here I presented 6 verses, one each of 6 great poets who are immortal on account of their valuable literary contribution. The first verse is taken up from Karnabhar, written by great poet Bhas. This stanza shows the importance of charity and oblation, that is dan and home. The second verse is from the great poet Kalidasa's play Malvikagnimitra, which intimates that a person, without being led by others, has to take decision of good or bad thinking himself. The third verse taken from Bhavabhuti's Uttar Ramcharit describes the characteristic of the great person's mind, which shows that the mind of each great person is harder than even thunderbolt, that is Vajra, and softer than even a flower. The fourth verse is famous as the composition of the great prose writer Bana. It describes the nature of a wicked person. The fifth verse is chosen from the playwright Shudraka's Muchchakati, which describes the heartfelt misery of a poor person. The last verse is the composition of the poet Ravi Gupta. Herein is the praise of a gentleman. The facts described are coherent even today. The teaching of the verses can be successfully only when it becomes the part of a human life. In the last verse, poet Ravi Gupta highly admires a gentleman. शिक्षाक्षयं गच्छति कालपर्यात् शुबद्धमूलाः निपन्ति पादपाः जलं जलस्थागतं च शुष्यति हुतं च दत्तं च तथैव तिष्ठति. Translation. With the passage of time, whatever is learnt is lost. The trees having strong roots fall down and water lying in the reservoir dries up. Whatever is offered as an oblation into fire and whatever is given in charity remains as it is. पुराणमित्येव न साधु सर्व न चापि काव्यं नवमित्यवद्यं शन्तः परीक्षायन्तरद् भजन्ते मूढः परप्रयत्ने बुद्धिः. Translation. All is not good only because it is old. Similarly, poetical work is not free from fault only because it is new. Good people accept either of the two after tasting both. A foolish person's intelligence is led by the opinion of others. Vajradapi kathorani, mruduni kushumadapi, lokontaraणam chetanchim, ko nu vignatu maharti. Translation. Who indeed can understand fully the minds of the extraordinary persons, the minds that are harder than the thunderbolt, softer than flower? Anashyama labdapado नीचः प्राणेय दुहशः भवति रविरपि न दहति त्राद्रग याद्रग दहति वालुकानिकरः. Translation. A weak man who has got a high post due to other person generally becomes unbearable or annoying. Even the direct sun does not burn as much as a hot and sand dune does. सुखं हि दुःखनान्युभूय शोभते धनान्धकारे शिवदीपदर्शनम् सुखातु यो याति नरो दरिद्राम ध्रुतः शरीरेण मृतः स जीवति. Translation. Indeed, happiness appears to advantage after having experienced sorrow, like the sight of a lamp in the pitch darkness. A man who becomes poor after having enjoyed the period of happiness lives like the dead in spite of having a body. सुजनो न याति वेरम परहित निरतो विनाश काले अपि छेदे अपि चंदत तरुह शुरभयति मुखम कुठारस्य. Translation. A good person engrossed in doing good to others does not bear a grudge, that is enmity, even at the time of his death. A sandal tree, even when it is cut, makes the edge of an axe fragrant.